Good evening. My name is Emily. I will be the lead for this for group three tonight. We're going to go over week 3 and 4. And today we're exploring how public ethics differ and or don't from private ethics. We're also thinking about how philosophies like utilitarianism influences decision making and public services. For those of us working or in the study of, which some of us are in, public administration, these are not just abstract ideas. These shape how we act, how we lead, and how we make difficult choices. We were assigned some readings, and we're going to go over those readings and we'll just break them down, and then each of us will just give our inputs on that and what we've gained from that. One of those, the first, is the blind spots of public ethics and integrity research. Just to my take of that, it's just arguing the modern public administration, which often focuses on too much on rules and oversights and not enough on the development of moral character in leaders. And I find that that's very, very important. And he also suggests that returning to Aristotle's virtue of ethics, which emphasizes becoming a good person and not just doing good acts or acts of good. What, for an example, what I had got from it is just thinking of public servants, and that their leadership wasn't just about policy, it's about integrity and character, which what I had got from that, that's what Aristotle would like to call a virtuous person. And a discussion question from that I just wanted to put. And as I go through, I'm going to go over just questions that just would pop up so that way we can all just interact. Can a public official do the right thing for the wrong reasons? What do y'all think? Can a public official do the right thing for the wrong reasons? What do y'all think?
Yes, I think so. I think sometimes that our own moral beliefs and the way that we view things should be done isn't always going to line up with us. I think sometimes you have to make decisions for the right, you have to make decisions for the good of everyone involved. And sometimes that's where it goes to the, I'm not going to say this anywhere close to right, but the teleological, that's maybe somewhere close to the T one, where you're doing it for the greater the mass. I mean, to me, I view it sometimes as casualties of war. Sometimes there's just casualties. There's winners and there's losers. And sometimes making the right decision does not always affect everybody in a positive way.
I agree with you on that too. I think just looking at like a public official might have to follow the law, implementing fair policies or protecting the public for good. Um, but what if they did it to gain political favor, avoiding backlash or um, or improving their image? So you have to look at that, which bridges the difference between external actions and internal motivations. The second one that we're going to talk about, go ahead and go on to the next one. The second reading, it's just talking about public or private, and the actions on that, which should aim to maximize happiness, talking about no special separation between how you act as a citizen and how you should act as a person. Just to give an example on that, a doctor treating patients versus a politician voting on healthcare policies. Both face ethical decisions. One would say that it's the same principle. The greatest happiness applies to both cases. My question on this one, should public officials be held to the same moral standards as individuals? What do y'all think? Should public officials be held to the same moral standards as individuals?
No, because their overreach is so much more than an individual. The public officials can influence thousands, tens of thousands, if not millions of folks, depending on what level they're at. They should be held to higher standards. Case in point, I'm held to higher standards because I carry a badge and gun. As well, it should be. We should trust those who have more power to be at a higher level than Joe Schmo off the block.
I definitely agree. I feel like public officials are given the power and the responsibility that affects many people, many people. And so, because of this, many can argue that they should be held to a higher moral standard. I completely agree. Um, let's go to the next one. It's talking about
You're
the
just
second
gonna have
law.
to
I,
jump in
Emily,
there, Emily.
Doc, yeah, go ahead, Doc. Just jump in. You're part of the class.
I'm a good student. I raise my hand. Okay, I have my hand up. So I think it's interesting you said that, Jeremy, because we're talking about the idea of a virtuous worker, and I think we're running into how do you. So I take what you say. You said that you carry a gun and a badge, and you have to be you need to be held to a higher standard because there's a higher risk reward associated with what you do. But how do we square that, with people's different views of virtue, right? Like, I mean, and I'm just asking Jeremy. I'm trying to add to the discussion. Like, we look at some of those concepts. Should we be held to a standard? Well, some of the readings from this week talk about like where those standards are, whether it's the categorical imperative or the idea of a virtuous worker. So, like, how does the definition, like the public definition of virtue, impact that standard?
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know if it's the law that sets, how they view a police officer is supposed to react. And then they use that law to hold them to a standard of, you know, regionally or culturally how they expect it to be held to. Because every different group's going to have a different view of what's morally correct and what's not morally correct. So it's kind of a gray area on, who ultimately makes the decision. Would that be the elected officials making that ultimate decision, or would it be, uh, you know, the local city council? So it's kind of interesting you say
The
that.
tyranny of the mob, the public, right? Like the tyranny of the majority, right? Like, I mean, if a majority of people, or if a strong minority of people take over, you wonder. It's a good question to ask as far as the standard is concerned. And there's a lot of good examples in public administration.
Well, one of the readings this week brought forth, you brought up organized crime. One of the readings this week talked about the mafia. What's their definition of good? What's their core values? So if my integrity is lining up with the beliefs that I am going to protect my brother at whatever cost, and he does something that I believe is morally wrong, where do I go from there? My integrity to the group, the integrity to myself, my integrity to the brother that I'm going to keep. Where does it lie? So the definition of good, or the definition of the context and the perception of the group all the way around, to me, that's a whole lot of the whole ethical discussion of, am I going to go with the masses or am I going to go with the one?
Good point, Michael. I think it was the fifth reading with Kurzgard, where she was talking about Plato and Kant was saying that morality is acting according to the laws one gives oneself. So it falls right in with the mob. You're going to do what you need to make the money and to protect your brothers, even though that's morally gray or black compared to everybody else. But yeah, well done, sir.
I
Yeah, I
think the
agree
mob is.
definitely with
Oh,
you. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
okay. I'm just saying, if you side against the mob or the mafia, I think you pretty much get the concrete boots and down in the river. So probably want to stay with them most likely.
My question is what river do they use in Amarillo? Right? Like
The
what body
Canadian
of
River?
water are they using in Amarillo? That's the question
Oh,
I
they're
have.
using Lake Meredith. Absolutely.
I don't know. It's all dried up now. There's not much to it. They're finding stuff in that. So I don't even know at this point. It's dried up.
There's 80 feet of water there. I'm diving there Thursday. Yeah, that's where they dump all kinds of stuff.
Emily, you're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, going back to the fifth reading, what you just talked about, and I like that you said that, is talk about ethics isn't just something outside of you. It's about how you form yourself through rational choices. And some people's rational choices, like I've worked in a prison for over 13 and a half years, and like it was mind-boggling how people come up with their rational decisions, and it's like, what are you thinking? Why do you think that? But in their head, this is normal. This is their morals. This is what they stand on. These are their values. So it's very interesting how, I mean, people even come to the way that they think, or if y'all that are in law enforcement, whenever you sit there and think about people, and it's like you have to talk people off of that bridge, but it's no, that's honestly in their head, that's what they stand on. So, I mean, it's very interesting how people come up with the way that they think. Did y'all want to have anything to say on the fifth reading?
Talking about your role in the prison system. To me, I think
Michael, you're breaking up a
it's
bit,
like
sir.
taking the context of what somebody brings something to you with. Yeah, my internet sometimes is horrible over here. I'm even on a hotspot, but I think if you look at the context of like the prison, I mean, they are in my mind they're operating off of survivability mode. So whereas something may not seem right outside, it is right inside, because I think that's where it kind of goes to the one of the prompts is about framing. To me, a lot of it has to do with context. You take somebody that brings you a simple problem, if they bring it to you in a positive light, oh, that's a little bit different. Well, what if they bring it to you in a negative light? How is that going to affect your decision making? Sorry, I'm a
Um, I have a question on that. What does it mean to constitute yourself as an ethical person? What would y'all take from that? What does that mean to y'all from that reading? Meaning, like, as in an ethical person, meaning that the ethics isn't just about something outside you, like rules or following rules, but something that you build within yourself through your choices, your habits, and your values. Because over a lifespan, they'll change because of what you stand on. What you may have stood on 10 years ago is obviously not what you stand on today. So, what does it mean to constitute yourself as an ethical person?
I
I
think,
think it varies from person to person. Oh, I'm sorry. Who did I interrupt?
oh, you're good. Go ahead. I'll hit it
I'm
about.
sorry, Eric. Um, I have met meth dealers who think that they're ethical because they don't step on their product, and they don't put rat poison in it. In their minds, they're ethical. It depends on the framework, like Michael was saying. It ethics is an individual internalized thing to everyone, and it just depends.
I think as a public administrator, as you go through, your lifespan, basically your career, I think is if you basically leave it better than it was. And, I guess the good life is what I think it was Aristotle or Plato was saying. But if you leave it, take the criteria, policy, all that you build, that what the community wants, and then just make it a little bit better as you go for all groups involved. I think that would be from a public ethics, that would make you an ethical public administrator.
I think in the readings, it's really cool to kind of see how it progresses because that's a great question. Like, what does it mean to be ethical? You brought up the prisons, right? I mean, some of our readings talk about how utilitarian, the difference between Locke and Bentham's, like Locke's big natural rights. Well, in a prison, your natural right is to protect yourself. Like, I mean, it's almost an imperative. Like, I mean, a prisoner would probably see protection as a categorical imperative, by Kant's definition, right? So you wonder, like, I think it's context driven, right? Like, I mean, if you're in a society that lends to well-being, I think the standard for being an ethical person is one thing. I think if you're in a society like that's Lord of the Flies, ethics has a, and you're piglet, you're the one that they're trying to eat. I think that ethics has a different connotation. Um, and I think that goes to the utilitarianism stuff. Like, do you make the decision for yourself or for the group? I think it's very contextualized as far as the rules that have been created around you.
That leads me to the last one on the sixth reading, who shall judge? And it just breaks it down and how the article explores authority, consent, and reason, and to think that we should decide what is just in society. Is it about how we justify public decisions? And so my question is to that one, whose approach to public reason do you prefer? Do you prefer Locke, Kant, or is it Hobbes? What would y'all say? Who would y'all decide? Whose approach to public reason would y'all prefer?
I guess I would just go with Kant, the categorical imperative or hypothetical imperatives, because it just makes the most rational sense for, public public administration and policy making and such. To me, anyway.
I'll say I agree with you too. I said personally, I lean more towards Kant approach because it values and moral reasoning that respect everyone equally. Because I think I try to go by the golden rule. Golden rule. I try to treat others the way I want to be treated, and it just encourages people to think critically and justify laws through shared ethical principles. No, not everybody's going to think the same way, but I feel like you try to look at it the glass half full instead of half empty, and I like his approach. We'll just go into the prompt. Um,
Can I offer mine?
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
No,
ahead,
that's okay.
doctor.
I'm a Hobbes person because for me, Hobbes kind of has the view of a society as being individualistic, even aggressive at times, and that there needs to be a arbiter, right? Like, I mean, we need to have, because for me, like Hobbes's whole point about like needing a system that kind of protects us from ourselves is like the whole reason for our justice system, or like how the justice system is supposed to work, especially the court system. Or like we're supposed to be protected from each other and protected from a tyrannical government, by the way, right? Like, I mean, I think Hobbes kind of, Locke for me is a little too like godly in his approach, and Kant has kind of this internal morality that he assumes, right? Like, I mean, he is the Kant's category, like the Kant's view of the world is based on a lot of assumption for me. I think Hobbes has the best view of the world. I think he has the most accurate view of the world, right? Like, I think of the three, Hobbes is the realist.
Would you say that then, based on those three, that Hobbes is the one that operates more of an egoist style mentality rather than a utilitarian? That's where I struggle.
I don't think Hobbes has any interest in utilitarianism.
Okay. I mean, because Locke basically is I think I'm flipping back and forth between my notes, but his is what should I do or what ought I do,
Right.
versus the other of more of the I think in one of the readings it called egoism as selfishly pervasive.
Right. That's the Bentham reading. That's the reading on Jeremy Bentham. Like Jeremy Bentham kind of has that idea, like you do what's best for the majority, right? That's where the whole thing of like the trolley problem comes in. Like, would you kill 10 people, or would you save 10 people and kill somebody, or kill somebody, and save 10 people, right? Like it's pure ego. For me, I just think Hobbes is the most accurate at depicting the world, right? Like in the absence of structure, people will default to their state of nature in protectionism. I mean, Emily's probably seen that more than anybody if you worked in a prison for 13 years, right? Like, I mean, although prisons have structure, prison communities have structure. There's a hierarchy, there's power from all the studies that I've read. I mean, you'd be able to speak to that more than I would. And there is value sometimes in like letting it police itself versus intervention. So I think all of them have merit. I just think they come at it. It's about not to get. I'm just here as a discussant, and my dog is as well. But I'm just here as a discussant. But I just to put the professor hat on. Don't look at them as they're not. It's not a zero-sum game with these things, right? Like actually, if you read them in succession, it's a progression, right? Like we progress from Plato and Aristotle's, for lack of a better term, like optimistic pie in the sky kind of view, to more. If you notice, you progress to more contextualized versions of the same thing. It's not. It's a line, right? Like you're reading on a line. You're reading the story as it evolves. And depending on which one you like is, kind of depends on where you are in the story. Does that make sense?
Let's dive into the prompt. When we look at the difference between public and private ethics, how do we frame this and these decisions for our employees? We'll start with that one because we'll start there first. Does anyone want to tap into that one?
I think it kind of goes right back to the context. I mean, to me, the public and the private. I think we all carry our own within ourselves. It's like our internal compass, and that is what we're going to carry within our own house, within our own family. But our employer or our organization may be the one to dictate what their core values are, or these are the expectations from you. So I think context of the framing of the situation, whether it's from a grand scheme or a small diversion, to me, that's where it sits.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like in private lives, our ethical decisions often affect small groups, either our family, friends, or even ourselves at times. It really does. And then the second one is how does utilitarianism and the desires to serve the public drive ethics and morality for public administrators? What do y'all think?
I just want to add one thing to the last prompt. So if you use the state of nature in your private ethics, but you use the law of nature for your public, so you stay within the guidelines of your organization, would that be a conflicting? Because you have your own rules inside your own home morality, but is that going to show up in your public, or is the public side going to show up in your private life? So I thought that was kind of, as I read through it and listened to different theories on it, it was, kind of what Chief Burton said. It was kind of interesting how all that fit together contextually.
That is a fantastic point. Like, I think people sometimes conflate, and especially in that first week's discussion, I read a whole bunch. I mean, you can read everybody's stuff, right? And I think people kind of conflate ethics with this permanent and binary choice, right? I think you make an excellent point. You can be multiple things ethically and still be on. Actually, I would offer, I'd go even a step further. There's a bunch of cases where you have to be one way in the public and you have to be one way at your job, where you're the opposite way at home. And your affinity for paying your mortgage determines how far you'll go along that line, right? I mean, not to get, I'm those of you who've talked, I never get real political, but like teachers are facing that right now. There have been teachers in the past week that have been fired for things that they have posted on social media. That they didn't, their social media was public. Their district administrators read it, elected officials read it, and they were fired. They made the post on Thursday and were fired on Friday. So, those ethics, I mean, they made posts based on their ethics, whether you agree with them or not. And they walked in on Friday and got fired for them. So, I mean, it's a real, I think that's a great point.
I ended up freezing for just a little bit, but I think, I mean, I think you're right. I think in one situation we have to be one way. I don't think anybody, Emily, I don't know what your personal life is like, but I don't think anybody wants Emily, the prison guard, to come home. My girls could care less that I am a chief because at home I am not a chief. They don't care what color my badge is, how many bugles I have. I'm not giving orders at home. And I have three daughters, and they are very outspoken. But when I leave the house in the uniform and get in my truck, then it's a whole different role. And because of my role, does it carry over into my personal life? It does. I pay attention to what I'm doing when I'm out in public simply because I think there's an expectation that I have to uphold. And so I think there's some carryover, but I think it's, to me, the differentiation between work and home. What's your role?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, does anybody else want to add anything for the prompt? I'm just going to recap over everything. Doctor, do you want to say anything? Anything? Okay. All right. Just to summarize this, we discussed how the public ethics differ from private ethics due to the broad impact and visibility of public roles. We've also explored how utilitarianism pushes us to consider the collective goods, but also forces hard choices. And we've brought up many, 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 many good points, especially about hard choices, because, like you said, Doctor, you said about those administrators, it's very, very important what you say on social media. Would you say they said this one day and gone the next? So it's very, very important. Like you said, even Michael, it's very important how you move in public because yes, you're one way at work, but what you do in your personal life, even in mine, it could affect your job. So it's very important what you do and how you move. Um, that it can conflict with individual rights as well. We also examine how it means to lead ethically, from modeling good character to building systems to support integrity. Our whole discussion revealed how complex and how it is driven ethically, decision making in the public administration setting. So my degree is going to be in criminal justice, but I've learned just from taking the classes I've taken from you, Doctor, I've learned so much because those tie hand in hand, and it just blows my mind how much they have they work hand in hand together, and I've learned so much in all these courses thus far. And I'm even taking your that other research, and I'm learning more from that. So all of this is I mean, it's the fundamentals of all of it. So thank you. Anybody else have anything else they want to say or tap in? Okay, if that's it, we're gonna go ahead and conclude this. So this is week 3 and 4, and I'm gonna go ahead and stop it now.
You stop it.
I'm trying to stop it. Hold on. I don't want to. Okay, hold on.
Do you have something to say that you don't want to be recorded on? Fire
No,
away.
hold on. I'm trying to end it. Hold on. Hold on. I was trying to stop the
I
recording.
don't know how to do it. So
I'm trying to stop it. Hold on. End it.
Are you on Zoom?
Yes.
Okay, so obviously we're on Zoom. Sorry. Are you on your computer?